Okay. Ivo. Good morning again, dear friends. I hope you had a great time last night at our famous or infamous Police party, as always. We'll make sure to post all the embarrassing photo booth pictures on the Police Instagram. And I've also received a lot of pressure to hand out the Police Best Dancer Award, but the jury is still out, so we haven't been able to make up our mind. There's no consensus just yet. A bit more about the plenary theme of this session. So as cities and regions strive to make mobility more inclusive, tackling transport poverty has become a central challenge for policymakers and practitioners. So this plenary is going to explore how expanding the mobility menu from affordable public transport and active travel to shared and on-demand services can empower communities and ensure equitable access to opportunities. Speakers will discuss strategies for integrating social equity into mobility planning, addressing affordability gaps, and designing systems that leave no one behind in the transition to more sustainable mobility and a decarbonized transport sector. Now, a potential key instrument to make this happen is the Social Climate Fund. That is a fund that has been introduced by the European Commission. And that's why we're very happy to welcome Beatriz Yordi, the Director of Carbon Markets and Clean Mobility at DG CLIMA of the European Commission, and she will share insights on how climate and social goals must go hand in hand and how the Social Climate Fund is helping in that respect. Beatriz, the floor is yours.
Many thanks, Karen. Good morning, everybody. A pleasure to be here. I can tell you that it's rather impressive looking from here to see all this audience. First, I would like to mention the European Pillar of Social Rights, Principle 20. In this Principle 20, we say that everyone has the right to access essential services. And part of these essential services is transport. I'm proud to say that in the Social Climate Fund that Karen just mentioned is the first time that we have an European definition of transport poverty. I have to say that it was time, and it's good that this transport poverty is meant with in a transversal manner, including affordability, accessibility, and availability. This is the complexity of transport poverty. We have in Europe, unfortunately, 45 million people under energy poverty. And the transport poverty, the estimations are that can be double, and even higher than double. So we cannot afford in this jurisdiction, in this continent, to have these numbers. I will go to transport, and transport, because poverty in transport has its other complexities. Transport is a sector that is lagging behind in the emission reduction. If you compare to power or to other sectors, it's increasing the emissions since the 90s. We go to larger cars, aviation is growing, maritime is growing, road emissions are growing. So it's not in the path to go to reach climate neutrality. That's why we have different policies on emission reduction. Third message that I would like to say, and especially when I face, I have to say on too many occasions, some climate skeptic people, that even if they don't worry for climate change, even if they don't worry of the billions of euros that inaction and extreme weather events can cause to our economy. We have a high dependence on fossil fuels. And I have a scoop. Europe does not have oil. So we have every year between 400 billion and 500 billion euros of imported fossil fuels. It is too expensive invoice for the economy and too expensive invoice for citizens. In this context of transport poverty, we have a package approach first to carbon reduction. What is on accessibility? We have, you know, the Fit for 55. We have the different instruments, but especially proud of one, that in this idea that climate policies is a kind of ruin for citizens, I can tell you that climate policies can be a progressive policy for citizens. Climate policy means access to clean transport, means access to clean energy, means opening of the market of electricity, means opening the market also of train transport. We have designed it, and we have Council and Parliament which adopted what we call the carbon pricing to the ETS2, covering building and transport. And I can say that this year is the year 20 that we have done what we call the ETS1, so the carbon pricing mechanism for power, for aviation, for industry. Now the new sector is maritime. And in these 20 years, while the European economy has grown more than 60%, the reduction in these sectors has been 50%. And on that, I need to clarify that the big revolution in the reduction has been the power sector, thanks to the renewable energy penetration. So in this design of ETS2, and we have put in place the Social Climate Fund. And what is the Social Climate Fund? Just a tip before explaining, or a clarification. If we pick up the society in Europe, and we pick up the 20% richer part of the economy and the 20% poorer part of the economy, the 20% richer part is responsible for 32% of the emissions in building and transport, 32%. If we pick up the poorer, they are responsible for 9%. So the ETS2 will make that higher part of the society will pay, and we would like to inject this money in low and middle class. So the Social Climate Fund comes from polluter pays. It is a pot of money that comes where fossil fuel distributors, they need to pay the carbon pricing, and this pot has the size of 89 billion euro for the whole Europe, from now to 2032. We are in this design with member states, so please don't hesitate to knock the door of your member state, of your capital, because they are the ones drafting the different plans of the Social Climate Fund. It covers building, it covers transport, it covers public transport, it covers cycling, it covers electrical vehicles, it covers all the part of buildings. And what we would like also to insist on this Social Climate Fund that has been adopted by European Parliament and Council. We are with member states working, we have more than 16 or 17 draft plans. We are working with member states in the precise measures. And just to say that this Social Climate Fund cannot be in a vacuum. We need also reforms. It's not only money injection, it is reforms. We have still too many member states where fiscality can be perverse in the sense that decarbonization measures cannot be implemented because there's simply not a business case. So we need these reforms. We need to get rid of fossil fuels, which is apart from perverse, it can harm more the vulnerable citizen. This Social Climate Fund is 89 billion pot until 2032, has a double solidarity element, meaning that it goes to more vulnerable citizens of the society, and it also, the distribution goes for lower GDP countries. So poorer countries get more than richer countries. And just to say that I'm very pleased to be here, because it is great, something that we hammer all the time, transversal approach to transport, that we need different actors, from former prime minister to cities, to local authority, to regions, to different actors, to business sector. So a pleasure to be here. Just to say that polluter pays and climate policies can be progressive and can contribute to this social progression. The Social Climate Fund will not solve the whole transport poverty, but we are contributing to reduce this unacceptable still existent transport poverty. Utrecht shows the state of the art of what is possible, and it's a pleasure to be here talking to you. So many thanks, and have a great panel.
Thank you so much, Beatriz. Don't go anywhere. I have a gift for you. And you know that we are your allies when it comes to tackling transport poverty, knowing that the cities and regions have a key role to play in that respect, and that we have been issuing recommendations as well to the member states to make the right choices and the right decisions. So again, also reminding our members, talk to your member states, as Beatriz said, to make sure that you will also get the money you need to tackle this important challenge in our society. This is a token of appreciation, women changing cities. I hope you will enjoy it, and thank you so much for joining us. So moving on to our keynote speaker, it's my honor to introduce now Professor Jan-Peter Balkenende, who is a former Prime Minister of the Netherlands and currently the chairman of the new Mobility Foundation. He brings a unique perspective to mobility poverty, leveraging his extensive experience in politics, business, and academia. Mr. Balkenende is committed to ensuring that mobility poverty does not hinder anyone's fundamental rights. Whether it concerns medical care, educational opportunities, employment, or social connection, mobility should not be an obstacle. Mr. Balkenende, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Klaus, for your words of introduction. It's good to be back. I've been here several times, and I remember a party congress, and I was Prime Minister and also political leader of my party. And now you've seen there is a musical called Moulin Rouge. And in my time, we had Mamma Mia. And what happened when I was the political leader of my party, the CDA, we had a long discussion and never came to an end. And we had one difficulty, we had to stop at 5:30. And when could I start? At 5:25. I only had 5 minutes, so thank you so much for giving me 50 minutes. But it's good to be back. Thank you, Ms. van Kluijsen, and thank POLIS for placing transport poverty prominently on the plenary stage. This recognition reflects an urgent societal issue. Mobility is not a luxury, it's a precondition for participation in society. And people who know me a bit better know that I really am a big defender of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. And the basic idea of the SDGs is quality of life for everyone. And the basic and the fundamental idea is leave no one behind. You mentioned it. And I think this wording, leave no one behind, is so relevant for the issue of tackling transport poverty. And if you are looking around what's happening in Europe, we can see that mobility poverty affects millions across our continent, limiting access to healthcare, education, work, and social life. Addressing it is essential for fairness, participation, and economic resilience. Transport poverty is fundamentally a question of social equity and economic participation. It determines whether people can access essential services and participate fully in society. And traditional mobility policy has long emphasized infrastructure and efficiency. But real barriers often lie in affordability, accessibility, availability, and usability, especially for vulnerable groups. It's a bit of a combination of hard power and soft power. And the green transition, and we're all talking about it, must be socially inclusive. Sustainable mobility only succeeds when clean mobility is accessible, usable, and affordable for everyone. Leave no one behind. So, there's a conclusion. We must enrich the mobility menu. A broader and human-centered mobility menu is needed. Strong public transport complemented by inclusive, community-based and affordable options. And public transport should be complemented with a diverse set of inclusive mobility solutions. Let me give some examples. Inclusive shared mobility. And you can think about car and bike sharing adapted for seniors, low-income groups, and people with disabilities. You can think about community-based services, such as volunteer drivers, fietsmaatjes, rural mobility hubs. Or smart subsidies and mobility credits to make sustainable options affordable. And low-threshold digital tools, ensuring those without smartphones are not excluded. And you mentioned it, I'm chair of the New Mobility Foundation. We started several years ago. And it was our idea that it's terrible if people, because of their age or income or refugee status or health, are not able to participate in society. We said we have to cover this issue. We have to think about it. So we are supporting local initiatives. We are asking for attention for this important issue. We have international meetings. We recently were in Brussels talking with the European Commission and others, participate ITF, and also our director, Geert-Jan Baan, he's the director of the foundation. Let me give some examples for local projects we're supporting. Now you can see, but there was a picture of Tworby. And Tworby is busy with transforming regular bicycles into tricycles for better stability and inclusive cycling. Tworby. We have Changefield. That's virtual public transport. And that provides digital simulation of public transport travel for vulnerable groups. We have the Heen en Weer Foundation in Amsterdam. And volunteer drivers offering transport for people with limited mobility. I've been talking with them. It's really great to see that because of these volunteer activities, you can see people have better communication. They're able to attend facilities and so on. It's a great initiative. We have social mobility in Zwolle. A pilot project improving mobility for residents older than 65 years old by bundling and tailoring mobility services. And last example, we have fietsmaatjes, bike buddies, volunteers cycling with people who cannot go outside independently on an electric dual bike. And now the fundamental question, of course, is what's needed to going forward? I think we have to say that stronger coalitions between public authorities, operators, NGOs and communities are essential, ensuring that innovation, implementation and social needs are aligned from the outset. Another point, better data on transport poverty to guide targeted policy interventions and funding decisions, enabling governments to act where needs are most urgent. And I was very happy with your remarks, because you have your responsibility in Brussels. You play a very important role in the European Commission. You're very clear about what is happening over there. I think embedding mobility as a basic right in the EU and national policy frameworks, that's essential. Talk in terms of rights. Pilot projects provide essential insights into what works in real-life contexts and help bridge the gap between practice and policy. And by sharing these lessons through networks such as POLIS, Eurocities and International Transport Forum, the New Mobility Foundation strengthens the link between local innovation and European policy making. That was the reason why we were so glad to attend also the European Commission. And of course, we have dialogue with the European Commission. We talk with DG Move, the Social Climate Fund process, and National Conference. We also talk with policymakers in the Netherlands. And we need a cultural shift from a narrow focus on speed and efficiency toward a mobility system centered on access, inclusion, and participation. It's all about sharing best practices between local communities, cities, and national partners to accelerate learning, scale successful approaches, and strengthen systemic impact. And if we want inclusive transport systems, we must start with inclusive design, which demands a global vision and local action. And that brings me to my conclusion. I think tackling transport poverty is both a moral imperative and a social investment. You said you're also a professor, so if you're a professor, you have to mention in any case one book. You agree? One book. Let me mention the book, and that's a favorite of mine, that's Why Nations Fail. Have you heard about the book? It's a book written by 2 Nobel Prize winners of economics. And it's a book, it's a result of 15 years research, 3,000-year-old history, on one question: when can countries be successful? I think it's a fantastic question. And the answer is, you can be successful as a country if you are innovative, if there is the rule of law, and if there are inclusive institutions. And if I talk about mobility poverty, of course this has to do with innovation, new ideas, new tools. It has to be with rights for people, the rule of law, and you must have inclusive institutions. Next year we will commemorate that Adam Smith wrote his famous book, The Wealth of Nations, 250 years ago. And that was about the invisible hand in the economy. But 17 years before he wrote that book, he wrote the book, The Theory of Moral Sentiments. And for him, economy and moral sentiments are interconnected. And I think it's so important, if you talk about mobility, it has to do with new views, new tools, but also morality. I would like to underline that. And by enriching the mobility menu, we empower people to participate fully in society. And together we can make mobility not just as a service, but as a driver of equality and opportunity. I think that's an essential. That's the reason why I refer to the SDGs, and that's the reason why I refer to the basic idea, leave no one behind. It's always fascinating to talk about mobility. And then I'll come to an end because we have to, are waiting for the panel. Maybe you've been in Malta. Malta is a nice isle in the Mediterranean. And we were there, we've been there many, many times. And I remember so well when our daughter was 8 years old, and she said, oh, wait, a classmate, they're also in Malta, but they are on the Isle of Gozo. And we were in the Isle of on Malta. And people who have been there know there is a ferry between Malta and Gozo. And what happened, I said, okay, we will attend the family, we will rent a car, a Suzuki Jimny, and then we went to the Isle of Gozo. We had a fantastic day, traveling around, nice lunch, nice talks with the family, but I said we must have the ferry of 5:15, otherwise we are too late for dinner. So we arrived in the port at 5:10, and my God, the ferry was almost filled up with cars. There was a white line, 2 cars were waiting there, and suddenly there was a blue Peugeot passing us going to the ferry. And the cars in front of me, they were furious, and they used their klaxons. And the guy who organized the traffic, he said, priority, priority. And these 2 cars were allowed to go to the ferry, and I had to wait for an hour. So I thought, let's go out in the car. I talked with the guy who organized traffic. I said, sorry, sir, you mentioned priority. What do you mean with priority? He said, yeah, you mean the blue Peugeot? Yes, I mean the blue Peugeot. He said, that was Minister of Culture. And then I said, but excuse me, do you know who I am? I'm the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of the Netherlands. And he started laughing, and he said, all people are equal. And he was right. Thank you very much.
Mr. Balkenende, let me also give you a present. Thank you for your inspiring speech, and I'm sure it will be food for thought for the panelists as well. Thank you for joining us. It was an honor. So now we will move on to the panel discussion indeed, and let me invite to the stage our distinguished panelists. Maxime Romain, President and co-founder of Tier Dot, André van Schie, Regional Minister for Mobility of the province of Utrecht, Melissa Brandlet, yes, give them an applause, equitable mobility expert and author of Women Changing Cities, Lidia Pavic-Rogosic, the Vice President of the Civil Society Organizations Group at the European Economic and Social Committee and Director of ODRAS, and Dejan Schrek, Deputy Mayor of the city of Ljubljana. Welcome. So you have listened to 2 inspiring speeches about the Social Climate Fund, about the wider challenge of transport poverty and how the New Mobility Foundation is tackling that. So let's dive a bit more deeply into this topic with all of you and look at your different perspectives when it comes to how to address transport poverty and how you are confronted yourselves with this particular challenge. Let's kick it off with you, Dejan. You represent the city of Ljubljana as deputy mayor there. How does transport poverty manifest itself in your city, if at all?
Thank you very much, Karen. I would like to start with a little history. Ljubljana was the second city in Europe in 1901 who built the tram. But in the socialist time, when the trolley buses and buses began to come, they said this will be a new era. And in 1958, we removed the tram, and there was a big funeral on the main square in Ljubljana, and there were thousands of people there say goodbye to a tram, and some of them was crying. And today I said, I understand why they were crying, because we would need this tram very much in those days. So Ljubljana is a rather small city, middle-sized city, but we have a lot of narrow alleys. So we don't have many place to put some multi-modal, let's say, mobility in there. And but because we are so small and we expanded our bus lines, 90–70% of the citizens are less than 500 meters to the bus station. So we are pretty much not very poverty in the sense. But nevertheless, we made some 3 major steps towards. We have from the rural side of Ljubljana, we have a call on demand. It's an electric vehicle when people can call, elderly people, social people, and they can have it for free for some occasions. And then we have a very good bike sharing system beginning 2011 until today. It was 14 million using, not users, but using. In that time, it's one of the best bike sharing system, they say. And of course, we have also putting some electric vehicles in the city center and onto the medical center, which is free for the citizen who have problems with walking or carrying some hard stuff. And also we have a car sharing system which is only electrical, and it's spreading a lot. So this was some measures, and I think that we have another poverty maybe, which we are not talking about. It's a lack of bus and other drivers in the public transportation. So we can build our new lines, because buying new buses, which we will, but there is a lack of the drivers. So this is one of the issues that we also have to think about it.
Yeah, and that's where automation comes in as well, self-driving buses. But that's another discussion for another time. Let's look at the regional dimension. André, you represent the province of Utrecht. So is transport poverty an issue within your province?
Yes, I think every major region or city has this problem, because I was very inspired by the words of Jan-Peter Balkenende that we really need people to participate in society. And public transportation and transportation is not a goal in itself. It's a means by making people participate. And for us, it means affordability, of course. So we have a pricing plan for people with low incomes, together with municipalities. We have a 70% discount on the buses and trams for people with low income. But we also have an intensive program for accessibility, and it was not addressed yet in the previous 2 speakers, but I think it's very important that also people who have disabilities or have problems with visibilities, that they can easily access public transportation, that we can help them reach their destinations. For me as a regional minister, it's very important that we just do not focus only on the cities, but also on the rural areas. And I'm very proud that we have like a 15% increase in bus availability also for the rural areas, because this is a very big debate, and it's also very difficult to achieve, because in the evenings or in the weekends there's not so much demand. So we're really looking for new means of organizing public transportation for these secluded areas.
Okay. you mentioned vulnerable groups. Of course, transport poverty very often relates to vulnerable groups, and we have to make sure that this major transformation that we're going through is inclusive. But let's also look at 50% of the population, Melissa. If we look at our transport systems, I think we can agree that today's transport system is largely tailored to the needs of men, right? What impact has this had on women's mobility in your view, and how can we move away from those patterns?
Yeah, I mean, certainly for the last, well, since, the beginning of the 19th century, or sorry, the 20th century, we've been designing our transport networks largely for economically driven trips. Because they were designed with this idea of getting us from home to work as efficiently, as was pointed out, as fast as possible, it tends to ignore the trips that are not economically driven. So not just getting to work, but also for purchasing goods, things like that. But rather this, as Beatriz mentioned, this idea that everyone has a right to essential services. Those trips are not always economically driven, and they are largely still done by women, these mobilities of care. So we tend not to prioritize trips to schools, trips to perform essential service goods, to healthcare. And so that has had this very negative impact on this group of people, as you said, that make up 50% of our population, that are performing these trips. And so in order to shift these patterns, we need to start prioritizing those more. And that involves also shifting our thinking. I think often when we're planning for good walking, good cycling and public transportation, we're still thinking in this very car-based focus. How can we make it efficient, fast, convenient, and not thinking about how do we interconnect these networks more, how do we make trip chaining possible, understanding how shorter journeys make up most of the journeys we make in a day. And so in order to really be more gender responsive in terms of transportation, tackling transport poverty, not just for women, but for everyone, we need to focus less on only the economic drivers that are the reason for transport, but all of the other reasons that we move from our homes to anywhere else in the day.
And then let's make sure that the men also take care of the mobilities of care as well, not just us. Lydia, you represent civil society. Of course, if we have to, or if we want to understand the needs that people have when it comes to mobility, we need to make sure that they have a voice in the conversation as well. And you advocate for making sure that that voice is heard. How can we make sure that we really shape the mobility transitions according to the needs of civil society?
Yes, I would first say that civil society organizations have an important role and can contribute because communities don't, as you said, just need a consultation, then they need real mechanism to shape decision, and then means structured forums where civil society organizations, social partners, citizens, other stakeholders, together with authorities, can sit together and co-design policies. As it means participatory planning, civil society organizations can really assist and contribute by designing and facilitating those participatory deliberative processes, that it's not just one-time event. And besides that, we need evidence-based diagnostics so that using local data, we identified which groups are most affected. Is it rural residents or low-income households or people with limited mobility? And again here, civil society organizations can help, for example, by conducting different researches in the field, very often with academia, that's what we do, or collect data from the field, and qualitative data in particular provides valuable information and insights. It really needs of certain groups in certain specific areas. And also, when we talk about dedicated funding like Social Climate Fund, civil society organization can be watchdogs, so they can really see if the funds go to those most in needs. What I would say is also it's not all about money and data. It's about embedding rights, equity and accessibility in all transport policy. So transitions are not just green but also just. And without genuine community input, policies can be really technocratic and blind to the real needs. And with it, we build trust, legitimacy, and lasting impact. And just, I have more to say, but I see my time is going. So I will just conclude with mentioning that civil society organizations can bring real changes in the communities, like, for example, repairing and donating bicycles for those in needs, or organized hitchhiking in rural areas, or community carpooling systems. And just one sentence, role of networks. For example, CiviNets, I represent one. We get actors together, raise awareness, and put some important issues on the agenda.
Yeah, so many opportunities indeed to make sure that the voice of society is heard and that we integrate that from day zero into the way we shape our policies. That's indeed very important. Maxime, you must be happy because shared mobility has been dropped already by several speakers throughout the conversation as an important enabler in tackling transport poverty. What role do you see for your sector?
Yeah. Shared micromobility has a big advantage is that it's very flexible to use, first for the users, but also to deploy. And I think it can be a very good complement to, I would say, the more rigid public transport. So for instance, in Utrecht, actually, we operate shared electrical bikes today. What does it mean? It means first that it's available 24/7 for users, so we are talking about women also. It makes it very safe, for instance, for women to come back, I don't know if they work during the night, back home, when maybe also buses or trains are not operating. It enables also to expand the reach of public transport. It's a first mile and a last mile solution, so it makes shared micromobility, in effect, makes public transport available for much more people through the combination with shared micromobility. It's also very easy to deploy, very cheap, and so we can make our shared e-bikes or shared e-scooters available across full metropolis for very little cost for the municipalities. The other thing is also that shared micromobility is useful for people. It really increased the quality of life. I think we are mentioning that a lot of the trips are actually small trips, so 1 to 5 kilometers. And actually, shared micromobility offers a much faster way to move across the city. It's very flexible. You don't get stuck, obviously, in traffic jams, but also it's not multi-leg trips. And so we can say that for a price actually that is quite affordable also for people, you have to think that average price is 2.5 euro today without subsidies. You enable people very easily at any time of the day to move easily across the city and in any location. So maybe to quickly conclude, I believe really that shared micromobility in combination with public transport can be extremely powerful to reduce transport poverty.
Yeah, this integration is indeed instrumental. At the same time, of course, we also know that The business case is not always a given. That's generally for sustainable mobility the case. So the Social Climate Fund was mentioned as an opportunity. What we also said in our message is, let's use this opportunity to invest in shared mobility, for example, and have good public-private partnerships. Beatriz also mentioned this is the right time to talk to your member states. André, what's the situation in the Netherlands? Do you feel that the national level is going to spend the money wisely, and will you see some of that money coming your way? What's the current impression?
Well, we'll see some of the benefits anyhow. That's great because our inhabitants will be able to use the train system at lower cost when they have a low income in the Netherlands. That's the focus of the Dutch government for the Social Climate Fund, and I think it's a great just. We would have hoped that the buses and trams would have been part of this deal that we could make with the national government, but it isn't. So we're taking responsibility as the regional provinces and the cities to provide special low-income fares for the buses and trams. But the train system is very important also because in the Netherlands it is very well used for social but also for working transportation. So together with the European funds, the national government, the regions and the cities, we have a great package that will surely enable all people to participate in society by public transportation, yes.
And did it meet your expectations, or would you have hoped for more? Maybe?
I would have hoped for more because now I have to fund a lot of these issues in the profit from our own budget, and I cannot spend it on, for example, shared biking systems. We do that, of course. We think it's very important to have a system that is boundary. Well, it goes across boundaries from cities. Yeah. So in the province of Utrecht and together with the province of North Holland, we had a tender for the bike sharing system together, so that you can get your bike in Nieuwegein and leave it in Utrecht and the other way around. Because in the Netherlands, it's not just the first mile or the last mile we use bike sharing systems, but we go 15 or 20 kilometers. So for us, it's the last mile is a very big part of our transport.
Yeah, which is great, going hand in hand with wonderful long-distance infrastructure for cycling as well. Dejan, what's the situation in Slovenia? So are you happy with what the government on the national level is doing with the Social Climate Fund?
I think that we are on the right path, and I will read some sentences from our Social Climate Fund plan. Maybe it's a bit better. And we say because the transport poverty is a core focus of Slovenian Social Climate Fund plan. Affordable, clean transport reduces isolation and improves access to jobs, healthcare, and education. Electric vehicle reduce emission, and the Slovenian government urges that allocating funds to e-vehicles directly support vulnerable people. That's what we heard maybe in the first panelist. So we have 3 points made there. On-demand electric transport. The plan is allocate about 167 million euros. This is 36% of total funding to purchase 230 electric vehicles for on-demand transport services. And these vehicles will serve areas where public transport is missing or insufficient, ensuring mobility for people who otherwise face isolation or high costs. The second one is social services mobility. This is additional 2 million euros is earmarked for 100 electric vehicles dedicated to social services. This ensures that vulnerable groups, elderly, disabled, low-income householders can access essential service affordability. And the third is integration with energy poverty measures. It means this transport poverty is targeted as part of the broader social vulnerability framework. By combining housing efficiency upgraded with cleaner mobility, the plan aims to reduce both fuel costs and social exclusion. I must say also that after 70, maybe now 80 years of negotiation with the government, we started to build a new train and bus station in Ljubljana. and it will be finished in 2 years, and it will be modern hub. That will also, and also maybe just to add that we didn't raise the price of the season tickets for the public transportation in Ljubljana from 2012 till today. So we are somehow ensure also that the prices are affordable for the citizens of Ljubljana, although the people after 65 and retirement people have free access to the public transportation.
If it's indeed targeted to specific groups, that's a very good measure as well. So it's going in the right direction, I take from what you are saying. Lydia, as the European Economic and Social Committee, you've also been scrutinizing, I think, the potential of the Social Climate Fund. You already made a brief reference to it. So what is your message when it comes to making the most of the Social Climate Fund, briefly?
So we sent the message that the Social Climate Fund must be more than a financial instrument. It must be a tool for fairness. And we insist that truly make the most of it, we need several things. First, targeted support. So it really targets those who are in risk of energy but also transport poverty, then meaningful civil society involvement, again, together with social partners and local communities. They have to assist in shaping national social climate plans, including regional and public administration, but also we would like to see regional and local social climate plans. Then we see it as a need for structural reforms. The fund should not only be a relief for short-term purposes, but also investment in clean mobility, in energy efficiency, and affordable, innovative alternatives. And we need transparency and monitoring, clear reporting, and independent oversights must ensure that money and support goes really for those it's meant for. And complementarity. The fund should work hand in hand with cohesion policy and national social measures to maximize impact. And why all this matter? Because without these safeguards, the fund will not balance between immediate relief, as I said, with the long-term change, and what we heard several times here, ensuring that vulnerable groups are not left behind, according and in line with SDGs and European Pillar of Social Rights.
And I think what you mentioned, that we need to make structural investments, you know, and with a long-term impact, that is really instrumental, and not go for measures that perpetuate car dependence or forced car ownership, such as vouchers for buying electric vehicles, things like that. I think there are other alternatives that are
it's a separate topic we can talk about.
Absolutely.
And it doesn't help actually the poor and vulnerable.
Exactly, it won't help those who need it the most. That brings me to another topic where we see also that there is an increasing urban-rural divide or urban-regional divide. The levels of car dependence are highest on a regional scale, but also these people come into urban cores, creating negative externalities when they do that by car, because they have no other options maybe. So how can we also overcome the increasing polarization linked to it? That's a question I would like to put to you first, Melissa. What is the root cause of this polarization that we see increase in today's society, in your view? And what can we do about it even better? If we can ask Melissa first. Yeah.
It's all right. Well, I think part of that is this, we talked about it yesterday with this idea of backlash and the question, and you know, why do we have it? Is it good? Is it bad? And I think there's this overwhelming fear of change, whether it's this urban-rural divide or globally. You know, we get comfortable. We don't like things to change too quickly if we don't understand it. And so that leads to larger polarization. But also I think it's our responsibility in the transport sector or those that are in positions of leadership to be able to go and talk to these groups, to be visible with them and have likely some very uncomfortable conversations. But it involves, checking our egos and saying, okay, I need to understand why this is happening. How can we better address your needs? Not to say you have to stop driving if that's your only option, but maybe we're not providing enough options to them on a regional level or national level or what have you. And then with that, I work in communications. It's also understanding the power of storytelling and communications in sharing messages to help hopefully mitigate some of that misunderstanding that might exist, where people will make assumptions if we're not filling the gap or the vacuum of messaging. And so not just providing the details of this is what we're doing in the city of Utrecht, but rather in the region, this is why we're doing this, it's for this larger goal, this is how it will benefit you, but doing so in a language in a way that reaches them at their level and not making assumptions of how we can get there. And I think it's a difficult road, but that's where we have to start, is really addressing where are those gaps in terms of knowledge and understanding, and what do we, who have the responsibility, need to do to help to address that.
How do you address that, André? So you have cities, you have city of Utrecht within your province, but of course you have the hinterland as well. So how do you make sure that sustainable mobility options are available for the whole of your province, and how do you keep that affordable?
Yes, of course we have a public transportation system, and I also have roads and bicycle lanes, of course, to make transportation easy. But I think the most important and crucial factor in being less dependent on mobility is having services available also in rural areas. So in Utrecht City we have the system where we think everything someone would need would be within a 15-minute parameter traveling. But for people living in rural areas, it might take an hour to go to a hospital or the supermarket, because there's less economic vitality in the rural areas. So I think one of the most important things we have to do is make sure that there is enough economic potential in the rural areas by building new houses, being able for businesses to have also a space in rural areas that will help the most in preventing transportation. This is step one, of course. If you can go to your work close by where you live, you can take the bicycle. You don't need to go to the city. So from our policy in the province, this is a very important factor to help with policies.
So not just if people can't reach the services, make sure that services can reach the people, bring them closer to where they live. Okay.
Yes.
Very, very interesting approach. Lydia, coming back to you as civil society, you must be familiar with this backlash that we see very often as well when we talk about transport, or the polarization that I was mentioning.
Yes, indeed. This divide creates social polarization, but also policy dilemmas. And I'm a lot into rural development as well. And if rural communities feel penalized without options, trust erodes and transition actually stalls. So in our opinion that ESC issued this year on planning sustainable urban mobility plans, we sent a clear message about sustainable urban mobility plans, SAMs, as we see it as a tool of fairness. They cannot stop on the core city core. They must extend to the peri-urban and rural areas as well. And we see integrated planning as antidote. And by embedding rural needs into SAMPs and EU funding frameworks as well, we have a lot of discussion of next MFF and a lot of comments from the rural communities. And if we do that, we can reduce polarization and make mobility really, transition really socially sustainable. That means, as we heard already today, efficient, reliable, affordable, and integrated public transport, but also flexible and innovative services for low-density areas. And just to finish, again, I have more, but I will finish. We need dialogue, because without dialogue, policies will not really answer the real needs.
Clearly, and we need also the dialogue between the public and the private sector, Maxime, because shared services and micromobility, in your case services, are very often seen as urban solutions, and that's also where you see the biggest market right now and where you're mostly deploying. But how can we now make sure that your services also become more available on a regional scale, so suburban populations and even beyond? Is there a future?
Yeah, I think first, the industry actually already operates in many small cities. I think for us, for instance, we even have a city, I think, of just 4,000 people where we operate. We also operate already in across metropolis. So, for instance, Utrecht is one, Bordeaux is another one, Turin in Italy is another one, where we do both the main city, but also all the suburban cities around. The key for us is to operate, I would say, as clusters. So a small city alone for us doesn't make sense because you have to set up an operation center, hire mechanics, so you have to make investments. So we have to be able to operate across entire zones. And so the biggest limitation we have to do that today are two. The first one is we still see that many licenses or tenders are organized only at city level instead of metropolis level. So if you talk about Paris, for instance, Paris organizes its own license, and then you have all the single cities around that organize their own tenders. That obviously cannot work very well for us. So we need metropolis level licenses so that we can cover not only the main cities, but all the small cities around and be cost efficient. The second barrier is that in suburban cities, typically you will have lower density of people, and that makes it much less cost efficient to operate or profitable. And so that's where, generally speaking, sometimes we might need a financial help, so whatever it is, subsidies might come from the Social Climate Fund, but so that we can make operating in these lower density areas also profitable for us. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Let's come back to that in a minute, how we can also come towards public-private partnerships that are optimal and a win-win for both sides. But ultimately what we need to move towards is multimodality, multimodal lifestyles, and we're still way too monomodal. If that's the bike, monomodality is fine, but if it's not, then it's more challenging. So we need this change of paradigm, which unavoidably will be painful at times. That's something we've already discussed. The book I've been giving away to the speakers also yesterday and earlier, Women Changing Cities. One of the authors is Melissa here, part of our panel. So just between us, Melissa, so we're talking about urban transformation by bold female leaders. That's what your book is about. Is the future of cities female, maybe?
Just between us. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about how to answer this question, and I think, a future where cities are more feminine would be fantastic. Does that mean that there are more women in positions of leadership than men? No. But we are a long way from that. At the moment, 25 of the, women are only 25 of the 300 leaders of the 300 largest cities around the world. So that's 8%. So we are a long way from any sort of gender parity, and I think what we need to be doing is actually just moving closer to that, because it's more representative of us, of our societies, and our leadership should represent who we are. But it doesn't have to be only women, and that's what we really dig into together with my husband Chris, who's out there.
Hi Chris, we love you too.
It's about valuing these leadership qualities that allow us to come to realize cities that are more equitable for people. And we boil it down to 5. You can read more about it in the book. But really, the first is really valuing understanding the role of empathy. And that requires, like I said, checking our ego, but listening to people, understanding that while we might have all studied and learned so much, we're very excellent in terms of our knowledge of transport or urban planning or whatever, the people in our neighborhoods have the best knowledge of how best to solve that. And we need to listen to them. We need to have compassion and empathy for their situations in order to move forward. Long-term vision is a big thing, understanding that we're not just planning for the next political cycle, but we're planning for a long-term impact, valuing that role of care, understanding that this underpins everything that we do in our life, from the moment that we wake up to the moment we go to sleep. Someone performs care work for us and we for others, and we need to value that in our cities as well. Building alliances, making unlikely partnerships. We're all working, regardless of political stripes, we're all working towards this same goal of livable cities. We want to be in places where we want to stay, we feel comfortable, and we need to have those partnerships with people that maybe don't agree with us, but want to work towards a similar goal together and find that path. And then finally, and most importantly, is to prioritize impact over power. And we've seen that with a few leaders over the last few years, Jacinda Ardern, we've seen that with Anne Hidalgo, Valérie Plante, the mayor of Montreal, stepping down, understanding that they're there to do the job that they have, but to step away when their time is done to make room for new energy, or those that are in those positions and want to stay, understanding that it might not be popular what they're proposing, putting in that new bike lane or traffic calming that street, but that's what they were put in that position to do, and it's their job to do that whether they're re-elected or not. And so that prioritization of the reason that we've been put in these roles is where you see that impact, and that can be these can be qualities of both men and women, or all genders in between, and that's what's important in terms of the future of our cities.
Absolutely. It's we keep coming back to it, and it's a cliche, but it's still very true as well. This political leadership is what we really need and push through also when it's hard, and that applies to both male and female leaders, including the 2 male leaders we have here on stage. Coming back also what you said about the need to create alliances. We have innovation, our tagline at POLIS, and that means we very well understand also the need to work with the private sector and to use innovation in a way that can help our policy goals. So in talking about transport poverty, Dejan, how are you partnering with the private sector to extend the mobility menu?
I mentioned before a few examples, and we have very good experience with them. First is car sharing system, which is a partnership with one of the biggest world company on that field, Deco. They are knowing by the panels for the marketing all over, and we provide them through our urbanistic plan the public spaces for their panel, and they are maintaining our bike sharing system. We already have 86 stations with 860 bicycles. They are not electric bicycles because our mayor is convinced that the people should work out a little bit, not to be. And Ljubljana is not so hilly, but we just have a new tender with another provider. It's called with the Next Bike, because we are combining 20 different municipalities, neighboring municipalities, and we'll provide inter-municipality network, but they are, of course, because their distance are longer, they will be electric bikes. So this is another. And of course, car sharing system is also a private-public partnership, and we just extending now, and it will be 400 cars, and from those 400, it will be 254 for Ljubljana. And we also provide them public parking spacing and spaces for the electric charging stations. So this is our goal, and it works very good because we decided in Ljubljana to have only electric sharing system, car sharing system. No other cars will be allowed to have a sharing system. So that's, and we are very satisfied. It's going better, and also they have to provide a low cost using of those cars. So this is the one of the
that
our
sounds
demands.
like a good public-private partnership indeed. André, you had already mentioned that you would have welcomed more income from the Social Climate Fund to further invest in alternative and shared solutions. But what is in place, and how do you feel that relationship with the private sector could be offering alternatives?
Well, in the province of Utrecht, for example, also our public bus and tram transportation is executed by private companies. And they are not only innovative, but also more efficient than usually government-operated services are. And this provides us with extra means for extra transportation, but also being able to set the bar a little bit higher in competition. For example, in 2 weeks' time, we'll have a new concession starting in the Utrecht area with zero-emission buses, with extra transportation, with more accessibility. So this is public-private partnership also. And of course, we mentioned the biking system we're also tendering. But most importantly, we really think that governments should do what they're best at, funding and setting criteria, but having the markets make the best innovative choices how to reach these goals. And we are currently also investigating public transport as a system, not just as separate modalities, and also hoping to have taxi drivers, small buses, neighborhood initiatives, all collaborate into one system where you can just go from your home to your destinations and back, really in a fluent organization.
Okay, seamless indeed. You already mentioned, Maxime, that tendering on a wider scale would be helpful for you. I think we have a great example here in the room with what Antwerp has been doing for the wider metropolitan area, rolling out a bike sharing scheme. I think that's a very good example. But now this is your moment where you can share your wish list, whether it's towards Europe, towards the member states, or towards our cities and regions. What is it that can really help us make progress in terms of public-private cooperation for more inclusive transport systems, and also for a better integration, for example, between public transport, mass transit, and shared mobility? We don't have 2 hours for that wish list, so but
I will make it short. It's only 2. So the first thing is, I think, and it's a message to the cities, is keep investing in infrastructure. You know, for people to use our service, needs to be safe, needs to be easy to park, and so keeping investing in cycling lanes, in high-density parking infrastructure, not only in city centers, but I would say across whole metropolis, is really key for people to start to use more our service. The second one is related to the Social Climate Fund. So as I mentioned, I think we can really grow the usage of shared e-bikes or shared e-scooters if we make it more affordable, especially, I would say, in suburban areas. And so finding ways to direct the Social Climate Fund to operators. It could be for rides coming from these suburban areas. It could be for people with lower income. Could be a great way to develop the usage. And I would like to mention one example, which is in Italy, actually in Rome and Turin, where public funding has been actually used to be able to provide I think it's free or very cheap rides to people which have public transport cards. And this is a great way to facilitate, I would say, and to make in general transportation much more affordable for people that often also come from suburban areas.
Okay, well, it's a reasonable list, so thank you for that. Let's keep on working together towards this goal. While I go and get the books at the other end of the stage, please join me in thanking our panelists for this enriching discussion. So I won't give you a copy of your own book, Melissa. That would be weird. So I'll get you some chocolate. Health was yesterday, so today we can have chocolate again.
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for joining us, and don't fall when you take those steep chairs down the stage. And this is for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So, the POLIS Award. The moment has come, like every year, where we present the POLIS Award to a POLIS member who has made impressive strides in sustainable transport innovation, has presented some of their solutions at our annual conference, and has also generally shown great engagement in the network throughout the last year, as well as before. The winner of this year's POLIS Award is one of the founding members of the network. And after all these years, they're still as committed as back in those early days. And at this conference, they presented their actions to support and incentivize multimodal journeys through the integration of public transport and shared mobility services, what we've just been talking about. They also talked about how they face the challenges of the future head-on through the modernization of their mobility system. And they also showed how their bicycle plan is not only a driver for active mobility, but also for sustainable tourism and the bike economy. The leaders in this city are committed to making bold decisions in the public interest, even if those decisions are not always popular in the short term. And at the same time, they stay connected to and actively engage with their citizens, showing a model of leadership rooted not just in convictions, but also in conversation. And finally, the deputy mayor and the team are not only doing great things in their city, they also have been the initiator of the POLIS Capitals Working Group, and the politician, the deputy mayor, is an active member of our political group. And they were earlier this year the host of the POLIS Leadership Summit. Ladies and gentlemen, need I say more? This year's winner of the POLIS Award is the City of Rome and the Rome Mobility Agency. Please join me on stage. Chiara, Annalisa, Andrea, Anna, Eugenio, Giovanni, Angela, you're all welcome on stage. Congratulations.
I can't believe it.
This is for you.
Thank you so much.
Would you like to thank your family? Just a few words. You're taken by surprise, I get it.
Yes, I didn't know anything about that, so I'm so surprised. I want to thank you, everybody. Thank Karen, thank Pedro, thank everything, every friends I have here, my family. Hi, Mom. I'm here.
It's well deserved, Eugenio.
Yes, no, and I want to also thank all the populism that make it a great opposition to the sustainable mobility in Rome. That is the reason that I'm here to take this award. So thank you, populists. This is
Congratulations. And indeed, just before, during the coffee break, we were talking about how hard it can be to push through also in Rome and stay on track. And this afternoon we'll have a political group meeting, and that's really therapeutic for all our politicians to hear they're not just alone in this shit show and can talk to each other and you know, give each other some pats on the shoulder. We also have another award. We, as you may recall, introduced the POLIS Ambassador Award a couple of years ago, 2 years ago. And it's an award where we want to honor a POLIS member that never gets tired of telling the world how great POLIS is. And our first winner was Edwin Mermans from the province of Noord-Brabant, followed by Françoise Gaspard from Ile-de-France. And they continue to spread the POLIS love, so we can definitely say that their appointments as ambassadors are appointments for life. Now, they will be joined by a third ambassador who we believe also deserves this honorary title. It's someone who is not afraid to speak up. He's seeing right through empty words, and he's tackling populist politics head-on. He's dedicated to keeping his city at the forefront of sustainable mobility innovation, and he doesn't give up even when the ride is uphill. And it's also someone who sees the value of European cooperation in learning from other cities and regions while sharing his and his city's own accomplishments, and by tirelessly and passionately pointing out how important POLIS is in that respect. Ladies and gentlemen, this year's winner of the POLIS Ambassador Award is Tim Asperges from the city of Leuven. He's on his way. Gefeliciteerd, Tim. We go way back. You know, my very first job in the transport world at Langzaam Verkeer in 1998.
Okay.
We were sharing an office back then.
Yeah.
So I've seen his track record throughout the years.
Thanks a lot. I'm also taken by surprise, but it's really interesting to stay here because my former deputy mayor and the new deputy mayor are here, also the whole team of Leuven. And the civil servant is on stage. So I remember and I remember the words of Mr. Balkenende. They are in the seats, we are on stage, but all people are equal.
There you go. So, time has come to thank some people. Thank you, our members, our friends, our colleagues from the whole POLIS team. A warm thank you. And of course, a thank you from me as well to the whole POLIS team. You are the best colleagues ever. I love each and every one of you. Thank you for making this conference another success. And moving on to some very special people, let me now invite some people to the stage who more than deserve the spotlight today. And this is always the moment where I get emotional. So thank you to our rock star, Alexia, our events coordinator. She keeps on rocking this conference like a queen, no matter how big it's getting and no matter how each time we break the record in terms of members. Also, thank you to Julie, her partner in crime. So Julie, join me as well. And a massive thank you for this conference, of course, to the whole team here in Utrecht, not just for this conference, but also for the whole presidency. It has been an honor to work with you over the past 2 years. So please join me here on stage as well. Herbert, Erlijn, Senna, Eva, Lot, Nadia, Karin, and colleagues who are present in the room. It has been a great ride over the past 2 years, and you've done so well today as well. Thank you, Herbert, Mr. President, for a few more weeks. Thank you, Nadia.
Thank you.
Almost there. Thank you. We keep on hugging and spreading the love. One more to go. And of course, last but not least, Eva. It's been so great. And your birthday, is it today or tomorrow?
Sunday.
Sunday?
Yeah.
I know it's around this time of the year, so at least this time you don't have to celebrate on stage, and I don't have to go through the awkward moment of singing happy birthday like I did when we were in Leuven. Yeah. Hold on to the power a little bit longer. The presidency is until the end of the year. But it is, of course, also the moment where we will be doing the official handover, right? To the next president for the 2 coming years. So you can also do it from there as you prefer. So let's go for that official handover moment.
Exactly. Hello, everyone. I wanted to ask you, how are you all doing? Have you enjoyed Utrecht for the past 2 days? Yes? Okay. Great, I thought you would. It is such an honor to have been able to welcome you in our city, and I hope you enjoyed your sessions, the interaction at the dinners, and go home a little tired, but mostly very inspired as well. And for the past 2 years, Karen already said it, Utrecht has had the opportunity to be the president of POLIS, and we have tried our best to help the mission of POLIS, making European cities the leaders in mobility transition, helping cities to get position in the European political context, and of course, learn from each other as well. And in this 2025 POLIS Conference, learning from each other and building new partnerships was the main goal, and I hope you all experienced that in the past days. The network has helped me, as a deputy mayor, of a progressive city as well, with the hope and belief that you are not facing the challenges of the mobility transition on your own. And I hope Polis will give you and our next Polish president the same support as well. Utrecht will hand over the POLIS Presidency to Ljubljana, and I'm very happy about that. A city with the largest car-free area of all capitals in the European Union. A big investment in shared active mobility and a pioneer in innovation, I read. And I'm honored to hand it over to you. Now you're more in the front, yeah, Dejan Cenek. And I want to thank the organization of POLIS for all the support. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this really special task. Karen said about we were hugging a lot of, and I must say that maybe the word Ljubljana, the name Ljubljana is coming from the word Ljubljana, which means beloved. So Ljubljana is city of love, and we are the capital of the state. The only state in the world who have love in the name. So Slovenia, Slovenia. So we are the capital of love in the state of love, yeah. And in 2 years of our hard work with the POLIS organization, who is getting bigger and bigger every year, with a lot of knowledge, a lot of experts, and a lot of good energy, as I said before, we invited you to the POLIS conference. And in that time, I say, in Ljubljana, you all can make love. So welcome to Ljubljana. And now, please, after this exciting moments in this morning, relax a little bit and take a look of our short video of Ljubljana, beloved. Thank you very much.
Sem Ljubljana, prestolnica. Obstaja veliko zgodb o tem, kako sem dobila svoje ime. Meni najljubša je tista o preoblikovanju besede ljubljena. Sem majhna, a imam veliko zeleno dušo in vse ali več, kar premorejo ostale evropske prestolnice. Danes sem dom in zatočišče mnogim, ki znamo živeti skupaj in hkrati spoštovati našo različnost. Iz nekoč speče lepotice sem se prebudila in zacvetela. Danes sem polna dogajanja, kjer lahko vsakdo razvija svoje talente ter izpolni osebne in karierne cilje. Mnogi izmed 2400 izvedenih manjših ali večjih projektov ter velike spremembe so danes samoumevni in zdi se, kot da so tukaj od zmeraj. Včasih je enostavno pozabiti, da sem bila nekoč povsem drugačna. Diham s polnimi pljuči, saj sem bogatejša za 40 000 novih dreves in 100 hektarjev novih zelenih površin. Višjo kakovost življenja zagotavljam z novo zgrajeno in prenovljeno komunalno ter prometno infrastrukturo, novimi mestnimi stanovanji ter kakovostno urejenimi javnimi prostori. Ponosna sem na prenovljene vrtce in šole, ki so zdaj otrokom še prijaznejši, ter kulturne, športne, zdravstvene in ostale pridobitve, ki se uspešno polnijo z raznolikimi družbeno-razvojnimi vsebinami. Naziv Zelena prestolnica Evrope leta 2016 me je ponesel še višje. Mnogim sem za vzor. Postala sem prepoznavnejša, s čimer sem zvišala pričakovanja meščank in meščanov. Tako je tudi prav, saj lahko le skupaj uspešno skrbimo, da še naprej ostanem zeleni dragulj sredi Evrope. V letu 2021 sem se zavihtela na vrh lestvice najboljših zelenih prestolnic v Evropi in v letu 2022 prejela naziv najboljše destinacije Evrope, ki so mi ga z glasovanjem namenili popotniki z vsega sveta. S tem se res rada pohvalim. Pogosto me sprašujejo, če se bom še razvijala in spreminjala. Seveda, na bolje. Pri tem bom sledila viziji trajnostnega razvoja in cilju, da vam vsem skupaj še naprej zagotovim zeleno in zdravo, varno in odprto, prijazno in solidarno okolje. Tudi za generacije, ki bodo z menoj živele v prihodnje. Tudi te bodo ljubljene, tako kot sva danes jaz in ti. Tvoja Ljubljana.
So this is the beautiful city that you will be visiting for the POLIS 2027 conference, so in the second year of Ljubljana's presidency. And we're confident that they are going to organize a great event together with us because they've already done VeloCity, the conference of our friends of the European Cyclist Federation, throwing great parties, and they even had a song for that conference. So that's my request to Ljubljana to also have a POLIS song when we go there in 2 years from now. So we really look forward, Dejan, to work with you and your wonderful team in the next 2 years. Just a couple of final practical remarks before I really say goodbye. So the site visits will be leaving at 2 o'clock from the main registration area, and you will also be returning here from the site visits unless you drop out at some point and get off at a more convenient location for you. That's fine as well. You can leave your luggage here if you want to. The political group meeting, so we will be leaving from the foyer at 2 o'clock. You can also have your lunch in the foyer if you would like to. And that brings us to the very end, but of course, not without first telling you that we will see each other next year again, I hope, in our hometown in the Brussels region. Thank you so much for being here, and see you next time. Thank you.